All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash for allowing me to do another lesson. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and there's no God beside them. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit, and salutations to the elect on the Most High have given ears to hear. And this lesson is going to go into layoffs and how they will lead to an influx of prostitution. So there's an article I found, it says Charles Schwab is laying off about 2,000 employees. Here's the full list of major U.S. companies slashing staff this year. And essentially, well, I first, saw an article just based upon jobs being companies laying off people in New Jersey, but I decided to look it up, as I know it can't just be New Jersey that's going through a economic collapse. All right, so this basically shows you that it's not just in Jersey; it's in all over across the U.S. And more so, if it's in the U.S., you got to know that the countries that rely on the help of the U.S. is going to start feeling it too. All right, it says Charles. Well, those are just talking points, so I'll just read down. It says layoffs have remained an unfortunate reality of 2023. Hell, layoff has been a reality for a minute now. We're talking back all the way back for 2015, 2016. Major stores has been closing, laying people off. And then you had 2020 would kind of like sped the economic collapse up. Right? Whereas to now, things are just exasperated. Layoffs have remained an unfortunate reality of 2023, continuing pace with the cuts made at dozens of companies toward the end of last year. Financial services company Charles Schwab laid off 5% to 6% of its employees on Wednesday as part of its ongoing cost-cutting efforts, it said. Although an exact number hasn't been disclosed as far as the company's staff cuts, Charles Schwab had about 35,900 employees as of September 30th, according to a corporate fact sheet. So at least 1,795 of the reported staff would have been affected by the cuts, based on the low end of the percent of employees the company said it laid off. Charles Schwab shares dropped significantly in March amid the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, amid worries over the financial sector. The bank's billionaire founder also saw his net worth take a plunge in the wake of SVB's undoing. And there was another article I seen on the Natural News, which I'll do that in a separate lesson. But a portion of this article, you had the guy Mike Adams. He was interviewing this one guy. He was a CEO of a metals corporation, and he was even saying how you had, the very rich families that own a lot of these companies. They're even, nervous. They're seeing their profits go down the drain. So this is not just him again. This is all, those in that, section of the world, so to speak. Right? Because these stores don't own themselves. They're owned by, big corporations, which are owned by wealthy families. Right? These wealthy families have their assets in different places. So, they see their asset from here, you know what I'm saying, going down the drain, the asset from there going down the drain. And it's trickling down. It's trickling down to the average 9 to 5er. Meanwhile, dozens of other companies have made significant reductions to staff this year. Tech companies, including Meta and Google, and finance behemoths like Goldman Sachs, announced big layoffs in the first weeks of 2023 amid worries about the economy. Right? Because it may not necessarily be that they're losing crazy amounts of money, but they have a threshold that they're seeing and they're not constantly meeting, right? So they just decide to close it down, right? Because you have a person that's used to making 4,000% profit, and they're not making that, they got to shut it down. All right, because they have to be fed handsomely, these people. All right, so as you think, because I used to think that, like, here it is, you projected to make 40 million, but you only made 25. How's that a problem? But to them it is. All right. Nevertheless, as we read on, it says the downsizings followed significant reductions that companies including Meta and Twitter made toward the end of last year. According to data from Layoffs, FYI, a site tracking layoffs, and you got to remember too, a lot of these tech companies, and these companies in general, they're going with AI, so they don't have to deal with personnel, they don't have to deal with, sick time leave and insurance and all that extra stuff, right? So essentially, they might be losing profit, but at the same time, they don't want to be losing profit and still having to pay personnel. So it says, according to data from Layoffs FYI, a site tracking layoffs since the start of the pandemic, tech companies slashed more than 244,000 jobs in 2023 alone, compared to during the pandemic when they cut 80,000 March to December 2020 and 15,000 in 2021. It says Charles Schwab's let go of 5 to 6% of its total number of employees on Wednesday. The reduction, which comes out to between 1,795 to 2,154 people, comes amid cost-cutting efforts as Charles Schwab's stock recovers from the depths of its losses so far this year. A spokesperson for the company confirmed to Insider that the layoffs were a part of its plan to remove cost and complexity from our organization. These were hard but necessary steps to ensure Schwab remains highly competitive with industry-leading levels of efficiency well into the future. They are decisions that impact very talented people personally, and we take that very seriously, the spokesperson said. Right? It says, Chad Draseker attributed the cuts to macroeconomic pressures impacting the entire tech industry as the company focuses on profitability amid a drop in online traffic. Right? So again, that's what the bottom line is. If I'm losing too much money over a long period of time, I won't be as rich as I want to be. So that's a problem. All right. And it's crazy because, over the past few years, they've been pushing these tech jobs. You make $200,000 a year, da 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 da. But now, as we see, it's not what it's even that's not stable. Right. You would think, to be an engineer, to be in the tech field is a glorious job, but nothing stable. And that's prophecy. Like, I can read this. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 14. The Lord, Yahweh, have mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt, which America is spiritual Egypt. This is where we were brought into ships, into a place with ships. All right. This place is known as Egypt, to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. All right. So we're going to see, you see 200,000 this month. 2 months from now, you'll see 500,000 people being laid off. It says companies are looking to AI for coding help, but the Stack Overflow CEO, Slaki, I think I skipped this one, so I'll read it up again. It says, this year we took many steps to spend less, CEO Prashant Charesekar wrote in his blog post. Changes have been pursued through the lens of minimizing impact to the lives of stackers. Unfortunately, those changes were not enough, and we have made the extremely difficult decision to reduce the company's headcount by approximately 28%. Companies are looking for AI for coding help, but the Stack Overflow CEO has faith in the human element in his company and has also launched his own AI-based tool. Many AI companies use Stack Overflow's data to train AI in coding, something that the company is now looking to be compensated for. And it's seeming like, you get these jobs, you go to school, you get these jobs, but you essentially, writing these programs and training your competition. As once these AIs are up and running, they don't need you anymore. And that's going to lead to essentially robbing and looting. There was a so-called comedy movie, which is kind of edifying to a degree, called Fun with Dick and Jane. With who's the actor? I forgot his name. But him and his wife went on a robbing spree. When they're when they both got laid off from their job, and they couldn't find jobs elsewhere. And everybody from that job, they were all basically looking in the same sector because they all had similar fields, they all had similar backgrounds. So it says the logistics company said it will be laying off up to 30% of its workforce toward the end of October. The pending layoffs followed a series of cost-cutting measures that Flexport has made since Ryan Peterson returned as CEO in September. Ryan has been very transparent in the need to drive the growth and cost discipline required to return Flexport to profitability. A spokesperson for Flexport told Insider by email, "We will do so in a way that doesn't impact customer service and our ability to help grow our customers' businesses. We won't be commenting on specific details with regard to employee reductions." This is the second round of cuts for Flexport this year. The company laid off about 20% of its workforce in January. And as we're basically reaching the fourth quarter, you're looking at your books and you're seeing that things are not really looking good for you. So they got to do what they got to do, and we're slaves here. The average 9-to-5er, we are slaves to where they can give us a job and they can take it away from us. And this is why you need to be praying to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, especially you Israelites, you so-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, because this is not your rest. All right? You can have a fancy, tech job making $275,000 a year. You can go to school for, 6-7 years and get your mechanical engineering bachelor degree. But that none of that's going to mean shit, in these times to come. The devil is cutting out the middle class, right? As it is written of in Revelation 13. It speaks about only what? The rich and the poor, meaning the middle class. Those that will live in paycheck to paycheck, but that could live a decent lifestyle, were being cut out of the picture. Then it goes on, that's pretty much it. That's probably all I'll read. It goes into the different companies as you see: Farmers Insurance. Who else? The Epic Games, Fortnite, laying off people. Roku, Farmers Insurance, T-Mobile, right? CVS. So it's getting bad for a lot of these people. And what's going to happen, especially for these women, as you'll see in the coming times? Well, hell, not in the coming times. You'll see they turn into prostitution. Now, this is another article I found on Fox Business. It says student loan that has teachers turning to pay it all off. Missouri teacher who resigned after school found out about her OnlyFans says she made close to $1 million. All right, so it says the former Missouri teacher who resigned after school administrators found out about her OnlyFans account told Fox News Digital she's made close to $1 million by selling adult content on the website. Right? And that's a hell of a goal. You go from making, as she says, some teachers are quitting their jobs and turning to pay off their student loan debt, which exceeds $50,000 on average. So here it is, I'm only making $40,000 a year, right? And my student loans is compiling on interest, if I'm not mistaken, And call lawyer, how about Shimyao Shah? I never had to deal with that student loans, but you could just imagine making only $40K, and you paying $200-$300 a week out of your check to go for some student loans. So now you're making $40K. You gotta, pay your rent and all of that. Pay your electric bill, pay for food. You have kids, you gotta pay for them. And on top of that, you're, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 in debt. Right? And with these interest rates going up, it's like, how do I sustain? So it says 2 teachers from the same high school in Missouri were placed on leave after their bosses found out the educators were operating OnlyFans accounts. Both said paying off student loan debt was one of their top reasons for selling racy content. Brianna Coppage was an English teacher at St. Clair High School when administrators pulled her into a meeting in September and asked if she was secretly running an account on OnlyFans. They specifically said they got a report from an adult in the Sullivan School District, and they asked, do I have any other income streams, like outside of teaching? And I said, yes, I do have an OnlyFans. They asked how long I had been doing it, if it was during my own time or anything at school, which I told them, she told Fox News Digital. I'm guessing, yeah, that's her right there, Brianna Coppage. Look, it says, ex-Missouri teacher who ditched classroom for OnlyFans has no regrets, far exceeded my teaching salary. So it says, Coppage said her work on OnlyFans works completely separate from her professional life at school, where she made $42,000. She said the account was open to help pay down student loans from her advanced education degrees. And a lot of these women, they go back to school, to get a doctorate, after the master's. So it says, weeks after being placed on leave, Coppage decided to resign. Since opening the OnlyFans account over the summer, Coppage claimed in an interview with Fox News Digital to have made nearly $1 million. A second English teacher at the same Missouri high school was also placed on leave on October 27th after bosses found out she was running an OnlyFans account. In an interview with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Megan Gather said she needed the money to pay down over $125,000 in student loans. St. Clair High School teacher Megan Gather was placed on leave. Right, as you see, that's her. Teaching does not financially support a person, Gather said. It's really hard to stretch those paychecks during the summer. That's why I did it. According to the report, Gather's pay, which includes a stipend for coaching the school's cheerleading squad, was around $47,500. On average, students take out $55,000 in loans for an average degree, which is wild. Here it is. You come out of school already a year in debt. And again, this does not include interest compiled on that $55,000. So now you probably 2-3 years in debt. Gather, and that's on average. But for somebody that took out $125,000 in debt, you will essentially never pay. You will essentially never pay that off on a teacher's salary. All right, and it says Gather had an OnlyFans previously, but took it down. When Gather took the account down, she claimed to have had around 1,500 subscribers and was bringing in an extra $3,000 to $5,000 per month. All right, and she says, I'll just skim down. It says, I made the adult choice of getting a side hustle, and guess what? It's working out so far. You see? And the justification will be, to survive. As we just read about the massive amounts of layoffs, right? And you still got to survive. So what's the next best thing a lot of these women is going to turn to? They're going to turn to selling their assets. It says Christine McDonald, a former special needs teaching assistant in Canada, was fired for a job in June after refusing to take down her OnlyFans account. After it was discovered by school administrators, McDonald's went by Ava James on OnlyFans. So it says, I was advised to deactivate all Ava James social media platforms. Right, so you see, the list goes on and on. But and damn, this bitch don't even look all that. But anyway, it goes to show you that what women will do to get by. They will turn to otherwise known as shameful so-called side hustle to make it. All right. But there was another article I found where it says migrants are behind boom in NYC's red light district, Eric Adams says. Mayor Eric Adams has blamed the rise in prostitution in a Queens neighborhood on an influx of female Venezuelan migrants who are struggling to find other work in the Big Apple. His owner said the surge in illegal activity taking place on street corners in Corona is just one example of how the nation's ongoing migrant crisis is crippling the city. It is unclear whether the Venezuelan migrants the mayor referenced are being sex trafficked to perform these acts or if they're soliciting sex of their own free will. And most likely it's the latter. I remember the brother Yashalam, GMS Watchman, he did a video on how you had this one Venezuelan girl from had moved to Colombia, and in so many words, to pay for their housing or whatever, she had to sell her body, and she was crying. She didn't really want to do it, but she understood that she didn't have any choices. And I seen articles going into how you had, again, women over here who had particular degrees, high class degrees, was working in strip clubs and things of that nature. You know, so this is what women will have to turn to in these times. And it's going to show you how the tables is turning. All right, to a woman will have to cater to men, if you look at it in that aspect, because if you have nobody to buy your content, if you have nobody to buy you, your work is in vain. you know, and that's going to lead to other issues, you know, them, getting great left and right, you know, diseases, all types of shit, man. So this place is going down the toilet real fast. Now it says it is unclear whether the Venezuelan migrants, okay, I read that part. This is what happens when you create an atmosphere that people can provide for themselves. You can work, you can provide for your job, and have to turn to illegal activities to do so. When I talk about the spiraling, okay, it says Adams told reporters during a Tuesday briefing. When I talk about the spiraling impact of how this is going to affect our city, this is what I'm talking about, he said. We are going to create generational problems based on the failure of national government, and this is one example of that. And again, we just read that Egypt shall err in every work, because you have your leader, Joe Biden, that's pushing for immigrants, all right, to come over here to the U.S. And this is what all the women is going to be doing, right? It says Adams added that another of these red light districts has emerged in East New York, Brooklyn, where he said prostitution is overt during the day. An employee of one of Queens' businesses told the Post Wednesday that the area was brimming with migrant prostitutes, and had tripled in recent months. You have Chinese and Colombians out there, but it's mostly Venezuelans, the employee said, adding she could tell based on their accents. And this place is turning into a so-called shithole country, as Trump called it, because when you go over there to Colombia, you know, Salvador, Costa Rica, that's what you find on the streets. Women during the day selling box. But it says a nearby business owner said the while he'd seen an influx of women working the streets of late, he wasn't sure if they were newly arrived asylum seekers. There is more, a mixture of everyone, Asians, Latins. I seen them day and night, but more at night. I leave at nights and they are at the corners, he continued. I don't know if they are new or not, he added, referring to their immigration status. Another store owner said he too had noticed an increase, but only in prostitutes who appeared to be Asian. I've seen a lot more Chinese on Roosevelt Ave, but not more Latins. You have families who come in here. It's not supposed to be like this. It's like a strip in Las Vegas. I've been here for 25 years, and this is the worst I've seen it. Meanwhile, Adams on Tuesday also took aim at the city officials who believe it's a victimless crime and are trying to get prostitution legalized. This is where idealism collides with realism, he said. I've had elected officials tell me that the women are just trying to work and ask why you're trying to harm them. But the mayor said there are real issues around illegal sex works, not only for STDs to sex trafficking to young girls getting involved in it to violence. Yep, that's the case. So people who don't understand how serious this is, they are impeding our progress. Adams said of the city lawmakers pushing for prostitution legislations. So as you see, it's above his pay grade. He just got to react. He added, we need a real partnership to prosecute the Johns. We want to focus on the Johns, and we want to focus on giving assistance to those sex workers to make sure that they're not being forced into this activity, but also abide by the law. Under New York law, prostitution is considered a Class B misdemeanor and is punishable by up to 3 months in jail and or up to a $500 fine. Patronizing a prostitute, meanwhile, is a Class A misdemeanor and is punishable by up to 1 year in prison and or a $1,000 fine. But the law has not yet stopped them from soliciting men on Roosevelt Avenue and Corona, which the Post exclusively revealed in July had become an open-air market for sex dubbed the market of sweethearts. Right? So it says, yep, that's what this world is coming to. And through the spirit and pride of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, our apostles and elders been telling you women, as the scriptures say, rise up, you women that are at ease. Right? Because you got to understand that it won't just be a so-called immigrant, from Latin America. It's going to be you as the jobs are getting cut. As they have to do something about this spending in the government, so they're going to have to cut certain programs. So you got to look at the SNAP program that's going to be cut, the housing assistance program that's got to be cut, and where does that leave you? Which a lot of these women are already selling, selling their ass on the side to make extra money. So the price is going to go cheaper and they're going to have to do a lot more, and thus, pretty much thus, humble themselves a lot more just to get by. Right? We're not even talking about the case where the OnlyFans model makes $1 million a month. Nah. To keep your lights on. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to, do something strange. It might sound funny, but hey, it's coming. And this is why you women, I left the men of the Lord, because scripture said that the men of the Lord, we going to eat. Right? And, you women that left your men for the liberties that this place provides, that's what you're going to be left to. Right? So it says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh. This is Ecclesiastes 12:1. When thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun, the light, the moon, the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Right? And a lot of these economists, which are which is what the scriptures mean by the keepers of the house, say that things are not looking good for any future in this place. And they've been saying that for some time now. So now the vision of the prophets, the vision of the scriptures, all right, over here in the careless land, nonetheless, is coming to it's coming out for all to see. Right? So that was all I had on that. With that, shalom to the elect. But Salaki, let me finish this off. My bad. And the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. All right. So with that, shalom.